Hello everyone and welcome to the Gooner Factory. So today we'll be talking about tonight's game, but also we'll be speaking about Mikel Arteta's press conference. But first we're going to be speaking on the latest transfer news, like Ramsdale. He's been linked away with a move in January, but Thomas Partey as well. It's looking likely that he will leave the club on a permanent transfer. So let's get into it. So firstly, we're going to start on the latest transfer rumours. A couple of players are set to leave in January. Both Thomas Partey and Aaron Ramsdale have been heavily linked with a move away. So Ramsdale is apparently wanted by Newcastle after Nick Pope received that injury that will keep him out for the rest of the season. It's being said they will approach Arsenal with a loan option. So what do I think on this? I have mixed emotions really, because Ramsdale was one of my favourite players last season. I think he saved us so many times. But for whatever reason, this season, Arteta has decided that's a position that needed freshening up, and I still don't really agree with him. I mean, I do agree that Ramsdale has not played that well the last couple of times he's played, but I'm not surprised. He's had all this added pressure thrown on him, but would a move away be good for Ramsdale? I mean, for him personally, yeah, because he'll be playing football, but for Arsenal, no. Because whether he's starting or not, he's still a part of our squad, so if we lose him, our squad gets weaker. But if it is a situation where Arteta's decided, no, look, I definitely don't want this keeper, he has no chance of getting back that number one spot, then I wouldn't begrudge Ramsdale for moving, because I still want him to be England's number one. So if he can't and won't get a chance to earn it at Arsenal, a move away on loan would probably be one of the best scenarios for now. So the next story is Thomas Partey, and he's being linked away with a permanent move in January in order to raise funds for a different defensive midfield option. I mean, what do I think of this? I mean, I'm slightly confused because Partey's still injured and he doesn't return till like the beginning of January. So that means as soon as he's back from injury, he's getting sold. I mean, I find that kind of hard to believe personally, and unless like a ridiculous offer comes in from Saudi of like 50 million, then you probably have to consider it. But that would leave you wondering, what kind of player, if we do sell Partey, are we going to be able to bring in January? It's a notoriously hard market to operate in. Clubs hike transfer prices in January, and it's usually a window that's used for like urgent transfers. So Partey's story to me would seem more like a summer deal, unless of course something comes up that you just can't refuse. But I wouldn't be in any kind of rush to sell Partey with no concrete plan. I know he's injury prone, but his injury record last season wasn't too bad. He played 40 games. So if we can get him back for the rest of the season, he would be as good as any player we would bring in, because, you know, whether you had him first, second or third, there were so many conversations last season between Partey, Rodri and Casemiro, because they were, in most people's opinions, the top performers. I mean, I think ultimately Rodri probably come out on top, but there were many points where it seemed like Partey was the best, and then Casemiro was the best, and then Rodri. So we can't just forget what he brings to this Arsenal team. He is a top level defensive midfielder when he's fit. And if we can get a consistent run of games from him, that allows Rice to play in that number 8 role alongside him, which allows him to do what Xhaka was last season, where he can get forward, where he can be based further up the field than he currently is. We've seen with England and Arsenal, he has an eye for goal. He likes going on runs. He likes having shots. So if he can play that role with the knowledge that Partey's behind him, I think we will have a Xhaka upgraded version. But I will definitely keep an eye on these stories and bring you more when I hear on it. So next we're going to have a quick word on the game tonight. Like I said in a previous video, I'm predicting a 4-0 win. And what's interesting is we get to play a day before all our rivals, and we have what you would expect to be an easier game than City. I mean, Liverpool probably have a fairly comfortable one as well, you would imagine. They're playing Sheffield United, but City are playing Villa away, so a chance again for City to drop points. I think this game will tell us a lot about City, because they are more than capable of going to Villa and putting 3 or 4 past them. And if they do that, you'd probably expect that to be like the springboard moment for them, because I mean, their early form this season isn't really a massive surprise to us. We've seen in previous seasons where City don't quite get going straight away, but they just seem to have this habit of making like a difficult game seem fairly straightforward, and then they just have the ability to go on a crazy run of winning 10, 15 games in a row. So it's probably fair to imagine they will do the same again this season at some point. It's always hard to imagine, because City are, and always have been, so good that you can only see them getting to a point again where no one can touch them. But then you do have the whole thing that Gary Neville said in the back of your mind, like, what if they do decline slightly this season? I mean, I guess time will tell, but on to Liverpool. And I mean, very much like our game, I expect them to go to Sheffield United and score a bag full of goals. I mean, this is a Sheffield United team who conceded 5 to bottom of the league Burnley. Then before that, they lost 3-1 to Bournemouth. So this doesn't appear to me to be a team that's capable of causing an upset. I mean, you can never say never, I guess, but it's probably a safe bet in thinking Liverpool take this one. So now, finally, we're going to get onto the important parts of the press conference. So the first question was about that Tomiyasu niggle, which caused him to be substituted in the last game. And there is an update. And Arteta said, we had to assess him after the game and had to take him off as a precaution, and we will wait to see if it will be useful to use him or not. We will decide tomorrow. I mean, it would be a massive shame if Tomiyasu can't make tomorrow's game, because he's probably in his best run of form since he come to the club, so I'm sure he'll be frustrated if he needs to miss this next game. And when you're playing like that, there's nothing more you want than to just keep getting out there and keep playing. But with that Tomiyasu question, he was asked about Ben White's fitness, and he said, yeah, he's back to fitness, he had minutes, so he's ready to go. So I mean, I guess that is handy in case Tomiyasu can't make it. So another question he was asked was, so as a coach, you're close to Pep Guardiola, did you smile when you heard his post-match interview? I mean, obviously the reporter is referring to the comment after the City game where Pep was asked, you know, why was the game stopped for a foul on a Man City player when Jack Grealish had just been played through one-on-one? And Pep said he wouldn't give a Mikel Arteta answer. Obviously talking about when Arteta called out the whole VAR situation and called the ref in a disgrace. So when Arteta was asked about it, he didn't really answer. He only said, I have enough on my plate. But I'm sure it was just a friendly jibe by Pep. They have this competitive edge now. You know, they are competing for the title together for the past couple of years. So these little digs are bound to come. I wouldn't really think too much of it. So another question was, your side go into this game 4 points worse off than this time last season. You were also top of the league then, but do you think that despite that deficit, your team is much better than they were this time last year? And Arteta said, no, I don't know, it's different. The league is different. The level has gone up another level and you can see it. And that's something we've spoken about on here. The league does seem different this year. There's points sort of being gained and dropped and collected from places that you probably wouldn't have anticipated at the beginning of the season. And it is kind of hard to put your finger on why that actually is. Is it just as simple as the teams are getting better? The coaches are getting better, or has everyone's level kind of slightly dropped off a bit? It's definitely hard to tell, and that's why I look forward to seeing how all the English teams do in the latter stages of all the Europe competitions, because that's always a good indicator of what level a league is working at. And we've got some good representatives in each of the competitions. I mean, if we're being honest, Man United are probably one of the only teams from this league that's stinking out the place. So the next question was, yesterday we saw your rivals all taking points off one another. You got a chance to open up a decent gap at the top of the league. Do you think, with the way other teams are playing and the way you're playing as well, that maybe you're better placed to win the league this season than you were last season? Yeah, and he said, no, I don't think about that. All I think about is how we're going to play tomorrow and be more consistent and more difficult to beat. And there's still a huge marathon ahead of us. And I think this is smart, because if you remember this time last season, there was a massive questions about winning the league so early on in the season. And it was almost like Arteta was kind of forced into answering them, maybe because it was the first time the club had been in that position for such a long time. But this year, it just kind of seems like he's not really interested in getting into that talk so early on, which, yeah, it probably is a good thing, as it'll probably affect anyone mentally to keep worrying about winning the league so early on in the season. And this is where people like Klopp and Pep have the experience, and you wouldn't really catch them mentioning winning the league on the first few months of the season. And that's because they know there's no point in even thinking about winning the league when you've got so many games in front of you first. And the last question was just following on from the previous one, and it said, I know you said you're going to take it game by game, but City have drawn 3 in a row. You must take some encouragement from that. And Arteta said, encouragement, no. The encouragement comes from watching my team play and watching them behave every day, and how hungry and willing they are to play every single game. The way they approach every training session. So again, they're basically just batting back the question about title talk, and that's something he's going to have to keep doing, because these questions will keep getting more and more frequent the more games that Arsenal keep winning, but also the more that Man City hopefully keep dropping points. So yeah, that was it from the press conference. All in all, very respectful to Luton. And he did say he liked everything about the club, what they've accomplished, where they've come from, and he had nothing but respect for their coach, who Arteta said actually in a press conference he'd done some sort of his coaching courses with. He said that it just happened that they were in the same classroom at the same time doing their badges. So this was never going to be a press conference where Arteta comes out and says, I demand my team to win, we should be getting all 3 points tomorrow. But that's definitely what I'm thinking, and I'm sure he's demanding that from all the players. But yeah, I'd love to know everyone's thoughts on everything you've heard in this video. How do you see the game going tonight? And thanks as always to everyone for watching and listening. If you could, just quickly hit that like and subscribe button. And I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.